I will start with a few words about the religious revival in Russia, because this is important. Going back in 1988, that's the year when we used to say the religious revival began. No one questioned that Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, church in the Baltic states were the same Russian Orthodox Church. But within this 30 years, 30-something years, 35 say, it's clear that the Russian Church is totally different now. I could say that our churches in Ukraine and I guess in the nearest future in Belarus, and definitely dioceses of the Russian Church in Baltic states, they will be independent. Of course, you know that from the history of the Church, when the Church there is a desire to be independent, it's usually a scandal, and there is no clear procedure how to be independent. There will be scandals, crises, and so on, but we have to sort of go through that. And this is the picture of, I guess, almost 400 bishops of the Russian Orthodox Church in Christ the Savior Cathedral. There are Ukrainian bishops there also. But what is important to know now is that none of these bishops, from those who are in Russian Federation, say a word publicly against the war. They are all 100%, at least kind of formally, on the side of Putin and on the side of those of Russian military. So, and that's just a few numbers. When we're speaking about kind of quantities and not qualities, that's really amazing what happened during these 30 years. In former Soviet Union, we had 76 dioceses, now it's more than 300. We had almost 7,000 churches, now almost 40,000. That was really the unique period in the history of Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus. So now you can, the last numbers, like kind of churches, 38,000. At least 12,000 of them are in Ukraine, so you can sort of minus, now it's kind of minus 12,000 if we're speaking about Russia. And then I'm kind of switching to kind of try to give you an idea how deeply the Russian Church was involved in building the new Russian kind of neo-imperial ideology that finally sort of brought us to the war. That was very natural that Russian priests were blessing all kind of weapons. You know, there is a tradition to bless kind of personal weapons, the weapons that you could be responsible for. And there is no tradition of blessing kind of mass or kind of nuclear weapons and so on, because civil casualties are usually unpredictable. So this kind of weapons could not be blessed. And Russian priests bless them easily. And one of the signs of this kind of close connection between the state and the church was the kind of the whole tendency of building special military churches for different, for example, in different regions and for different kind of say types of military. This is the main Navy cathedral in Kronstadt, in the kind of east, west north of Russia. And this cathedral played an important role in different kind of military activities. Soldiers were taking oath there, and sort of almost every month there was something connected to military in this place. But still, this church was built more than 100 years ago, so that this goes back to kind of Neo-Byzantine style. But the most important church are, yeah, and there were a lot of pictures, you know, like that. The first one, you see this kind of mixture, this ugly mixture of everything, kind of the image of Christ, the Soviet banner, tanks on the Red Square, and the second is it's a kind of joke, but it's really a bad joke. The second one, when you see the on the Red Square, it's written in Russian, "All power from God," and that actually goes back to the slogan of Soviet times, that our power belongs to people, and this is switching to the kind of power belongs to God. Was a tricky thing. In fact, that how Putin perceives his idea of power, because for him, you know, there is no kind of real elections in Russia. All elections are kind of fake elections. So the idea of authority, the idea of power that he has in his mind, is a kind of religious motivated, because he is almost an owner of Russia. He thinks that he has his very special mission of keeping not just Russia, but keeping the kind of post-Soviet empire under kind of his control. And well, he is still controlling not only Russia but also Belarus, to a certain extent Armenia and Kazakhstan. And the reason for the invasion was that Putin was very unhappy that Ukraine is turning west from Russia. So, and this idea that he will lose Ukraine, there will be no control of Russia over Ukraine, was sort of the real reason for the war. And now we're coming to the point, I think really important for the history of the Russian Church. This is the main cathedral of the Russian military that was built within 2 years and consecrated a year and a half before the invasion. So you see it's kind of Art Deco style, and it's a really huge cathedral in Moscow suburbs. And this is not just the kind of computer graphics. That's the real photographs, because all the technologies that you can imagine were involved, including very sophisticated kind of computer-controlled technology of lighting, so we could easily change the color. And it could really look like that. So it's fantastic, and it's from the outside it seems that, well, what's wrong with that? It's just well, good place to visit. So that's the June 2020, when Putin, you see the patriarch, then Putin, and then Minister of Defense of Russia are sort of, I would say, all three are military criminals, war criminals now. That's now they are kind of, and that's the the worst thing one can imagine. This is the main icon of Christ in the cathedral. Very expensive one, of course, like everything should be in Russia. But what is interesting is on the sides, this kind of closing parts of the icon, you can see there the military scenes. So Christ, who suffered on the cross and who was kind of the last sacrifice, and the only sacrifice, and the one who kind of should stop violence, at least among Christians. Here, in this interpretation, he is the kind of the symbol of victory, the symbol of violence, kind of for the sake of the empire, because these battle scenes are on the sides are, of course, the battle scenes of Russian Empire of different periods, and above all the scenes there is a kind of patron saint, an icon of the Mother of God, or a patron saint of the military of that time or that area, trying to convince kind of all of us that the violence for the sake of the empire is definitely blessed by the church. And that's what's happening now in Ukraine. From the Russian side, the main argument is that we are, this Ruski Mir concept, the Russian world concept, that three nations, Russians, Belarusians, and Ukrainians, they form the space or the territory of Holy Rus, of Holy Russia, and that's the kind of special God-given reason for keeping nations together, for the nations to stay together. And if something is going wrong, for example, one nation is going to fall apart, the other nations should do everything to keep them, or to keep all three nations together. We'll move. See some pictures like that's inside of the cathedral, and because the Minister of Defense, Shoigu, is from Tuva, from the Buddhist region, not the Orthodox region. He is kind of, in a way, kind of multi-religious, though he presenting himself Orthodox, but he's also following some Buddhist traditions. And he invited the famous Tuva sculpturist Dashin Amdakov to decorate the church. And this extremely strange and odd image of Christ in the altar is done not by the Christian artists, not by the artists who know what is prayer and who is Christ and believe in him, but by Buddhist sculpturist who is kind of just, it's kind of postmodernist concept when you can make images of Christ even if you're not Christian. And in terms of kind of contemporary culture, that's okay, but this kind of images, at least I believe that this kind of images could not be presented within the church or in the altar part of the church, because the sacred image is not just the kind of the art, but first of all, and basically the experience of prayer that the artist and the community share. And another scandal with this cathedral is this orders, or this is all this kind of round plates have orders, military orders of Russian Empire, Soviet Union, and contemporary Russia. And this is a kind of blatant violation of the idea of the church. Because, there are different kind of levels. When we decorate the church, we're going from the floor, then going kind of up on the walls. And on the walls you can depict on the first row even the historic scenes or saints. Then you're going up and you have scenes from the Gospel or from the Old and the New Testament. Then you're going further, like in your church you have angels and the archangels, and then you have Christ as a creator of this world in the dome on the top. So you can't put our earthly words, earthly elements in the arches or on the ceiling, because that already belongs or actually depicts the heavenly realm, not the earthly one. And here, and we know we cannot take our kind of earthly whatever belongings, rewards, to the heavenly kingdom. We leave them here, and this is totally non-Christian concept of rewards. That earthly rewards are equally important as the heavenly ones. Yeah, that's one of the symbols. That's the Soviet, even Soviet orders are in this stained glass arches. Doesn't work. Yeah, but the most it's the pictures on the walls actually moves the church. We can't when you enter the church, you see this kind of military images of soldiers and officers of different epochs who are not praying. The idea is that they present their ammunition, they present their weapons, but they are not saints. And we can't even say that they are Christians. And that's also the violation of the idea of the church, because when you put a saint or a historic figure on the wall, the main idea is that they join us in prayer to Christ. And we are all, those who are alive, and those who are alive in Christ but departed from this world, we are all united in prayer, and we can see that these guys they are not intended to pray. They are ready to fight, but they are not ready to pray. And in fact, that means that this church that was built in Russia is not a Christian church. It's a temple of some god of war. And it was quite important that this church was built a year and a half before their invasion. That's a kind of sacrifice that Russian military did, already planning the invasion. Because, it took time to plan the invasion, at least a year, even maybe more. And I guess they started planning the invasion in Ukraine right after the consecration of this cathedral. And this first one, the first picture is not the only one. There were many of them of the same kind. They're really ugly. And you see there was an idea even to put the image of Putin. He's over there on the wall, but fortunately, these pictures were published in Russian media, and there was a scandal, and they replaced the image of Putin with the icon of Khersunskaya Mother of God. Yeah, let's. So, and all this are, this is not just some occasional events or ideas. When we see icons, we know that there is a theology behind them. When you have a sacred image, you can't say that this is just a sacred image as such. There is certain anthropology, theology, or soteriology behind it. And when we start with this kind of pictures, then we definitely end up with something, or I would say, almost heretical. And I'm well aware that call someone a heretic is really a strong statement. But I think we can say today that Patriarch Kirill is a heretic. And his wartime sermons, many of them now, they have very strong statements that we cannot call Orthodox at all. They are in contradiction with the gospel. They're in contradiction with the teaching of the church. And I think this is our problem, not just the problem of the Russian church, but the problem of the worldwide Orthodox church, that other local churches, that are theologians, still are not ready to at least examine this question on the official level, whether we could really say that this is unorthodox, what Patriarch Kirill and other famous preachers in Russia say. I think this is the responsibility of the church, and I would say this is the responsibility, first of all, of the ecumenical patriarchate, to analyze, to help actually real Christians in Russia, to kind of separate the official church, the heretical church, from the real Christian community that, of course, do exist in Russia, but are suffering under the pressure of the official church. I think that's the last picture. We used to say that the war in Ukraine is between Russians and Ukrainians. But I can say that Greeks are also involved. Because, in south of Ukraine, there were quite a few Greek towns from late antiquity. And one of them was and is the city of Mariupol. And for example, in our parish in Long Island, there are emigres from Mariupol who left the city 100 years ago. Until, I guess, the mid-19th century, almost 100% of the population of the city were Greeks. And only starting from the kind of late 19th century, other nations were allowed to to settle in that area. This city was almost totally destroyed, and this is one of the churches, say the Church of Saint Tatiana in Mariupol, that was destroyed a year ago. So when we say about this war, we cannot say that it could be religiously justified. We should not say that there is a certain truth on Russian side. That there is a there is an idea, and which is popular among the conservatives in America as well, there is certain truth on the Russian side. We should say, and we should keep this position clearly, that no, Russia is an invader. Russia is trying to, Russia is killing our not just on the battlefield, almost every day Russia is kind of bombing Ukraine, and there are no clear numbers, but I guess it's kind of 100,000 victims, at least 100,000 victims on both sides, and a lot of them are civilians. And I think we need, we should have clear vision of that. Well, I should say, I should kind of confess that it's extremely difficult not just to pray every day for the victims of this war, for those who are suffering, but just to keep in mind every day that there is a war somewhere. And especially if there is a war between Orthodox Christians. It's not easy, but I think that's what we call to do. We should pray for those who are suffering in Ukraine, and we should sort of push our hierarchy and our clergy to be more clear, kind of stating their position. During these 16 months, there are no really clear statements from American bishops, official statements, not from canonical bishops in America, not from bishops of different jurisdictions, that they do condemn the invasion and that they do have the kind of clear understanding of what's going on. I think partly the problem is that Russian Church was very good kind of building an image of a huge, vibrant, kind of developing church, and many still have this illusion that it's a big church that is growing, that is devoted to Christ, that is leading its flock to Christ, but unfortunately it's not. It's a tragedy. It's a strong statement, again, I should repeat. And this is important to know. Well, I will stop here. I used to lecture, and my time is kind of to speak for kind of 50 minutes for an hour, but I'm ready to to continue. But maybe we will switch to questions. It's not easy to put all this information in, to pack this information in 15-20 minutes. Thank you.